and I'm going to be taking you through a little bit of how to do some live streaming. So you may have seen over the past couple months that we've had some live stream shows from the assembly rooms with Onstage Online, and we've had the conversations in quarantine, and there's been a lot of like music groups which have used live streaming and recorded videos to promote their stuff, and it's a really just effective way of getting content out there in all this lockdown and COVID. So there are a couple of avenues that we can use for live streaming. I'm just going to share my screen here. Let's have a look. So the most basic form, you can use Teams, just like I'm doing right now. So using Teams, you can share your screen or share your camera and show off anything that you're trying to do. We've also got Facebook. So Facebook Live is great because it connects with all of your friends and groups and contacts in Facebook, and you can share with your pages on there. So here we've got the Assembly Rooms page that we can share on. And you've also got YouTube, which is great in its own ways because YouTube is so universally known around the world. Anyone can access it. You can set your links to be private if you didn't want everybody to be notified about the video. Or you can have it completely public and get as much foot traffic through as possible. So in the most basic form of live streaming is just using your mobile phone. You can set a camera, almost like vlogging style, and stream directly from your camera on your phone to Facebook. Or if you get into more advanced stuff, you can start using bits of software on your computer for that. So we use a software called OBS, stands for Open Broadcasting Suite. And that allows you to go in and make like funky designs, have different placeholders and videos and animations, and really get in there and enable your camera to be in just the right place, as you can see there. It's super easy to use and free. So we'll just look into it a bit more detail now. So here is actually my template from when we did the Conversations in Quarantine series with the assembly rooms. So we had a couple different setups depending on how many people were in the call, because we want it to look as fun and interesting as possible. Nobody likes looking at a boring full screen of somebody's face the whole time. So why don't we just work through that of how we would get it set up from scratch. So I'm going to make a new scene. Let's call this training. And we can start putting in sources here. So I can add in, you're going to want a camera. So we're going to go for a video capture device. And I'm going to select my USB webcam. And it may not work here because I'm actually using it with Teams. Typically, your camera will only work with one bit of software at a time. Can I just ask Kate to I think you're just unmuted. If you don't mind just muting yourself. Thank you. So we can add in cameras, like this one here. Let's see, that's guest one, webcam. So let's change that to using USB webcam instead. Nope, still not working. Okay. But that's how you would put in your camera feed. We can also put in images, so like our logos. Let's go in here and let's add our webcam. There we go. And you can just resize everything to fit your needs, which is really nice. Let's also get in a nice color image as well. So this is used a lot for video game streaming mostly. You'll see a lot of people using twitch.com for video streams, and this is how they create those looks, where you have like your sponsors up in the top left hand corner, you have your display capture or game capture going on in the main screen, and then you can just have your beautiful little face in the bottom right hand corner. It also gives you audio mixing as well, so we can see that from my microphone here I'm actually into the red, so we can bring that volume down so it's a little bit quieter. And once you get it set up how you like the composition, you can start streaming. So we're just gonna have a look at some of the settings in here. And what we're most interested in is the output. So we want to make sure that we're streaming at the correct bitrate. And your bitrate, you don't have to worry about too much. Generally, it will be set in stone, and that will kind of be the recommended. But if you want to increase your quality, you can increase the bitrate or decrease it. And that's how much data you're sending to the streaming service. And there will generally be recommendations on each of the different streaming sites to tell you what you should be using. And then we've got our stream key. So your stream key is what allows the software to connect to the servers of whatever streaming service you're using. And it's a private key that uses a handshake so that nobody else uses up your streaming bandwidth, and you don't have somebody taking over your stream. It's a private code in the sense. So when we've come to going live on Facebook, we've got our live video. Let's just schedule one for now, so we have it coming up in the future. We'll schedule it for 5 p.m. today. And that scheduling post is really great because it will send out notifications to anybody that has liked the page. So if you're trying to get traction to your event or to your show, you can schedule an event for 3 days' time, and everybody will get a notification when you schedule the post, and they'll also get a notification 5 minutes before the show is ready to go on. So you make sure you get the most viewership out of your stream. So we'll schedule this one for 5 p.m. We'll give it a name. This is our training class. Description and where you want to post it to. In this case, I'm going to post onto the assembly rooms page. Then in our settings, we've got our stream settings and so we're going to be having this as a live video. We don't really need to change any of this stuff because we want it to be live. We want to be able to embed it. So you can embed the live videos on a website, which is what we will be doing in the assembly rooms for the shows that are in there. And then you have this stream key. So this is the super secret key that probably shouldn't be broadcasting live right now, because now anybody could go and stream onto the assembly rooms website, but we will change that in just 2 moments. So paste it into here, okay, and then when we're ready we can just start streaming, and that will create a network connection between your laptop computer to Facebook. And when it is live, let me just expand this a little bit. You should get a little window where you can, there we go. So there's going to be a video going live today at 5 p.m. And here's our little preview window. So we can see what the Facebook servers are receiving from our streaming software. And this is where you want to be really sure that you have really good quality internet connection. To do that, you can use a site like speedtest.net. And what you're looking for in particular is the upload speed, because that is the amount of bandwidth that you have from your computer to the wider internet to stream your video. In this case, we have 8.7, which is plenty, because if we go over to Facebook, we can see that we are using 2.5 megabits per second, which is similar to that 2,500 kilobits per second that we used earlier. There are 1,000 kilobits in a megabit for anybody who might need to know that. So we know that we're within our bandwidth for our internet connection. We know we now have a connection with Facebook, so we can see our stream live. There will always be a delay between the live video and Facebook, like you'll see here. We'll see my hand waving down here in the bottom, but then on Facebook, we probably won't see it for another 15 seconds or so. And that's Facebook services allowing a little bit of a buffer time so that if anybody has a dodgy internet connection, there's enough video that they can be passing along until it catches up. Streaming to YouTube, I'm just gonna cancel this upcoming video so that we'll just stop streaming. There you go, you can see the hand waving there now. So we'll just stop streaming and we will go ahead and delete that upcoming video. Cancel broadcast. We can do the same thing on YouTube. So going into your YouTube channel, you've got your channel, you can see all of our videos that we've uploaded here. You've also then got this button here, which allows you to create a post or video, and we can go live. So here on YouTube, again, you have very similar things where you can schedule a stream. If you had a particular time that you wanted to show, we'll again call this training class. We'll make this an unlisted video so that maybe only people that we share the link with who have bought tickets get the link to the video. We don't want it public for everybody. And we'll set this one again for later on this afternoon for 4:30. You can upload a custom thumbnail, and generally we're not making videos for children. And there we go. So now that YouTube has scheduled it, it's very, very similar technique. You have a few settings over here, but the most important thing is our stream key. You can see that it actually hides it by default, which is nice. But we can copy that to our clipboard, go into OBS, settings, stream key, and we're going to change our service to YouTube. Control-V to paste in that stream key, and OK. So now, when we start streaming, we should see our stream pop up in YouTube. There we go. It's good that we have an excellent connection. And there is our video. So it really is that easy. You then have full control over your source. So whether you're playing short animations or have your custom setups, or even if you're using a pre-recorded video, you've got all of that here. So that's one from earlier. Yeah, so that is OBS. There's lots of tutorials and such online on YouTube that you can find more about the software if you want to dive deeper into it. I would just say the important things to be aware of is that you set up your video resolution to a standard like 1920 by 1080, which is full HD, or 1280 by 720, which is just a smaller video, but still high definition. And that is OBS. Before we go into vMix, I just want to ask, are there any questions so far about anything that we've covered? Anything at all? How's everybody finding this? Is this your first time looking at live streaming? Is anybody on this call already an expert at it? Feel free to jump into the call.
Hiya.
Hey.
Hi. Quick question. Sorry, my first time doing anything live streaming. So how feasible is this to do with just audio recordings specifically, not necessarily videos?
Good question. So you would probably still, my experience is still using video platforms. So you could use YouTube, say with if you were using this software, having maybe just a static image. And then you have your audio controls as well. So down here at the bottom, we've got like our mic input. We could also input sources from, say, like an MP3 file or something. Say if we were just playing back a recording, obviously you have to be a bit careful with copyrighted material. You don't want to just be streaming the latest album publicly for everybody. But you then have all of these mixing controls. So you can bring down the volume in the microphones, bring up the volume in the music, sound effects if you wanted to do like a radio host sort of thing. Totally can do that. Could even have a nice animated image going on in the background if that's what you wanted.
Brilliant. Amazing.
And I just realized I was not sharing my screen for any of that. You didn't see. So yeah, you can just have like a static image or a video and just be sending that, and then you have full control of these audio controls here. What sort of thing would you be wanting to do with it?
So we have a radio production that we want to do, and it's kind of like a radio play. And we wanted to, well, we're still figuring out what platform is best to kind of stream it on, because we do want to have it ticketed, so people buy tickets. But you know, the idea of having like a bit of a graphic while having the audio play over it is a really good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. There's also like loads of plugins that people have made for this software as well. So if you get out there, you might find one which is like you know, the old visualizers that you had on iTunes where you can see as people talk, it does like explosionsy, you know, something a bit more interesting to look at. Would be an option as well.
Lovely, thank you.
No worries. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Well, in that case, let's move on to another bit of software, which we will be using in the assembly rooms for live shows, which is called vMix. This one is a little bit different to OBS. With OBS, you very much kind of create your scenes and your presets and are able to have a lot of like flexibility of where everything goes and get text, and it's very like drag and drop. vMix works a lot more like broadcast studios. So when you see, sorry, when you see like television of news broadcasts or sports and they're switching between lots of videos really fast, you'd probably use a bit of software similar to vMix. So we can add, let me just add a couple inputs in here. So if we have like our camera, of course, yeah, it won't let me use the camera because I'm using it for Teams. Maybe it will let me use this one. Nope. Tell you what, let me close down OBS and that will be a bit better. Yeah, general troubleshooting thing. If you find that you're not able to have access to your camera, it most likely is being used in another bit of software, just as like a, or you might just need to change the resolution. So yeah, let's go with USB camera. There we go. So there's like R1, and then we can add another input where maybe we have a desktop capture similar to what I'm doing here. So I can just take, let's take display 1, get a funky infinity effect. Maybe just want to capture a single window. So if you're just doing stuff in Firefox, say, and you don't want to capture your whole screen, we can go and display capture and just take Firefox. And then you get into fun things where you can control your transitionings. You can do funky merges, wipes, cube zooms, like you're making a PowerPoint in year 7. And you can do like multiple image stuff as well. So if I put an image in, let's just use a, no idea what this image is. Ah, there we go. We can double click on it and then have like a multi-view. So if you wanted like the news broadcast style thing where you have one video and one bit, one video and another bit, or picture in picture, that's what it's called when there's two things with each other. We can take our maybe our desktop capture as that one, and then maybe our USB camera as that one, and you can have a mix of things. So now as I go to this, you can get nice transitions going and be able to see all of your cameras coming in at once. This is really useful if you have like a multi-camera setup in a theater where maybe you have camera 1, 2, and 3, and you want to be able to quickly see, let's go to camera 2 and go. Let's go to camera 3 and go. So it works on the principle of your right-hand side is what we call a program output. That is your live output that's either being recorded or streaming live. Everything on the left is your, what we call a preview. And you can mix between those two. And then the setups of streaming, all of this software is completely streaming service agnostic. So to set it up with YouTube, we would do the same thing where we go to our stream settings, choose our destination being YouTube Live in this instance, and we'll just use that same stream key as earlier. Save and close, and we stream. So now we'll see on YouTube, we should be, yep, excellent connection, and I think it still has slight buffer from the old one. There we go. There's our new string. So I might just move this over here, go back over there, and as we switch between these, let's move that over a little bit. Obviously, you have to wait for the 15-second delay. There we go. And then, yeah, this software is a lot more advanced, you've got some more like audio controls. We can add in, again, audio devices like in OBS. So I can add in my microphone from my webcam. Oh, so sorry. And then you have control over that with things like if you want to add in plugins or compressors or affect the EQ. And this software does cost a little bit of money. I think it's like £60 for the basic version, all the way up to like 2,000 if you're doing hundreds of cameras for FIFA or something like that. But again, it's really good if you have lots of different sources and you want to just be able to snap between them. Are there any questions about that? How about I'd like to know what you guys plan on doing with live streaming, and maybe we can talk about maybe future projects that you have coming up, how you'd go about doing that. Do any of you guys have any ideas of future projects coming up?
I have one or two.
Yeah.
So we have, well, I'm involved in 2 different productions, and one of them is the plan is to stream it completely live, but just stream it, no like actual audience there as well. And then the other one is sort of, well, either streaming it live or recording it, editing it together, and then streaming it. But that would be with an audience there present. So kind of just figuring out what's best for what is my issue at the moment.
So there's a couple different trade-offs if you're doing it, whether you're trying to decide, okay, do I record everything and edit it later, or do I just maybe record one thing? And that is the time that you can spend on the video editing. With sort of like this live switching is what we call it in video, with vMix, you're doing a lot of the job there on the day. So while the show's happening, you can react with what you're seeing on stage or in the room with, okay, I think this camera angle looks best. We've rehearsed that during this monologue, we're going to go for the close-up shot coming from the left-hand side. We want to make sure we get the chorus members for this part of the play. And it does save a lot of time in the what we call post-production, all the editing phase afterwards, if you do that live. With vMix, there's the option that you can record every video stream coming in live. So you can edit it afterwards. And that would just obviously take up a lot more room on your hard drive.
Yeah.
So the two are very possible. My preferred is doing things live, and then you just have one final file that you have to, maybe put some credits on the end, maybe put a title screen on. But that does just come with a bit of practice, I would say, of knowing when's the best time to switch cameras.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you. And would you say that like OBS isn't as good for live than it is for than vMix, for instance?
It's geared towards a different market. It's a great bit of software. The only thing it lacks, I would say, is like this ability to see all of the cameras at once. With OBS, you're kind of limited to knowing what each of your scenes does when you switch to them. So it becomes very important to name things correctly. The two work just as well. Like, you'll get the same quality out of it. But it depends on what your team are used to using.
I think OBS under the view menu at the top has like a multi-view.
Does it?
Yeah.
So it does. I've never actually used that. Oh yeah, there you go. Thank you. Who was that?
Barnaby.
Thanks, Barnaby. So do you have some experience in video?
Yeah, I've been using OBS for quite a while.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I was also asked in the chat earlier, do you know what the limitations are on the vMix trial version?
vMix trial, I think it's a time limitation. So I think you get 60 days, if I remember correctly. But I think it's fully featured in that 60-day trial.
Okay.
So what sort of stuff do you use OBS for?
Well, I used to do work in like esports and stuff. So I used to do quite a bit of like game streaming for an organization that I was part of. And then more recently I've done 1 or 2 streams for like student groups and stuff as well.
Awesome. So yeah, so there is actually, without even using the trial, so it is a 60-day trial, the free version, the only reason I wouldn't use it is maybe the max resolution.
Yeah.
So you are limiting yourself to quite a low resolution, in my opinion, and number of camera inputs.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
No worries. Any other questions? And I saw you pop your head in.
Yeah, I was just going to check if you'd seen the questions in the chat, but Barnaby restated them, so it's all good.
Great. Thank you. Anything else that anybody wants to cover? I feel like that's sort of a good quick rundown of everything. Happy to go into more detail and other things if there's any particulars that people want to cover. So I believe DST have a copy of the vMix software on there. So they just recently, the exec got a bunch of new equipment with cameras, laptop, and software. So Anna will correct me if I'm wrong, but that will be available for anybody using that space.
Yeah, so it's on the laptop in the Assembly Rooms theatre, so if you have a show there, then you'll definitely be able to use it. I'm not sure about other than that, though, at this point.
Yes, there will be a recording of this Zach afterwards. So I believe Kate is recording that and we'll be sticking that onto YouTube just as an unlisted video, but the link will be circulated.
I was wondering, the Assembly Rooms equipment.
Yes.
I'm on the exec for like SU and Music Durham Societies. I was wondering if there was any kind of agreement in terms of like sharing that across those organizations, or is it if it's just DST?
Anna?
Probably come into that if that's helpful as well. So I sort of see myself on the big screen. I don't know how you've been doing this whole time. So essentially, yes and no. So programming the assembly rooms is down to the DST exec, which they program kind of in advance of each term. Applications go out. We prioritise to theatre companies because it's the only kind of theatre space that they've got. Well, isn't it centrally bookable and not put in a college? But that doesn't mean that we haven't had Music Durham groups before. We haven't had SU groups before. We absolutely do, and we absolutely do encourage applications from them. In terms, so that's kind of how that equipment is therefore shared out. However, there is also a fantastic equipment section, which is called a new kind of pile of equipment called Media Durham. And what I'll do, I'll actually share the kit list now, if that's okay. So you can see actually what's on there. We've got 4 very, very fancy brand new cameras, plus tripods, SD cards, many different kinds of lenses, which are kind of for filming high quality equipment. We're doing a separate training session on how to use those equipment and things to consider while just recording coming up. And we also have a session on like editing those kind of films together. The reason why I'm telling you all of this about this new kit that we've got is because included in this kit, we've actually got cameras, tripods, and a video mixing desk specifically for live streaming. And we already have a video that has just gone out on how to live stream using that equipment as well. So even if you're not using these equipment and these cameras, there are centrally bookable cameras and equipment that you can use where they kind of complement this software essentially. So you've got the cameras to be able to do that. What I will do actually in a second, I will share that video with you so you can get an exclusive look about how to use that cameras and how to set it up. So if you just give me 1 second, I will share that.
Sure.
I believe this might be a question for you, Kate. Which channel do we find all these videos, or is it on the DST member section?
Oh, sorry, I had lots of different tabs up. They will be unlisted on the assembly. They're actually not even unlisted. They will be on the Assembly Rooms YouTube channel basically, and we'll keep it there for that. It won't be hidden on the DST member section. I'll make it pretty public, which is fine. That's also where the introduction to auditioning online is also there. So I'll put them all together and make like a little playlist kind of thing so that they're all available. And we're going to make them available all term, so they'll be there for a while. Can I just quickly share my screen to show this video, or are you doing something really important right now? I don't want to interrupt.
Go for it.
Great. Let me show you this video, and I will also share computer sound. I hope the computer sound is not completely crap. This one, I think. Nope, that is not the right thing to share. I am not the technical wizard. Sorry, guys. You just have someone very eloquently share everything, and then. Great, there. That's where it is. So. Perfect. This is the fabulous Michael Crilly. Can you see this page here? Yeah?
Yep.
Yep.
Hopefully you can see this video as well. There we go. Yep. I've just been aware. Can you hear this or not?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, bollocks. And now that's recorded. Give me a sec. Let's do that again. Include sound. You're gonna watch it again. It's just so wholesome. I'm not gonna lie. Like Michael is just very, very wholesome guy. And I want you to hear his dulcet tones as he explains all of this, because he's very funny.
Okay. A Blackmagic Design ATEM Mini video switcher.
Better?
2 video tripods.
Yep.
An audio cable. 2 mini HDMI to HDMI cables. A USB cable, and 2 standard HDMI cables. Opening up the ATEM Mini, you'll find the power on the top, so take out the power brick and then take out the UK adapter. These two just click together to form the power plug. Then underneath this layer, you'll find the ATEM Mini video switcher itself. So take this out and then put the box to one side. The power adapter for the ATEM Mini is a bit unusual. It's got to be pushed in and then screwed in to lock it in place. Once you've switched it on, the ATEM Mini should light up like a Christmas tree. Next, get the computer that you want to stream from and connect it to the ATEM Mini using the USB cable provided in the streaming package. Once you've plugged it into the computer, it will appear as a webcam and work with any software that would use a webcam. Next, we need to set up the cameras. The ATEM Mini takes up to 4 cameras, and there are 2 provided in the streaming kit, but you could always just use 1 if it's a more simple setup. So we'll be using the camera, the power cable, and the power adapter. The cameras have an integrated lens cover, which can be removed by flicking the switch on the right-hand side of the camera. While the cameras can be used from battery power, you can also plug them in to make sure that they don't run out in the middle of your stream. There's a connector on the right-hand side of the camera, which plugs into the provided power cable. Plug the other end of the power cable into the power adapter, and you're good to go. Open up the camera's screen, and turn it on using the power button concealed underneath. You can then connect the mini HDMI cable in the ports next to the power button. If you're using both cameras, you can then set up the second camera in the same way as the first, removing the lens cap, opening up the screen, turning on the camera, and connecting the camera to the ATEM Mini using the mini HDMI to HDMI cable. You'll want to plug it into one of the ports numbered 1, 2, 3 or 4 on the back of the ATEM Mini. In addition to cameras, the ATEM Mini also accepts HDMI input from laptops or DVD players, any other device with an HDMI output. There are 2 standard HDMI cables included in the streaming kit for this purpose. Just connect them to the output of a laptop or DVD player, and then connect them into the ATEM Mini in the same way that you'd connect a camera. If you're using the tripods, open up the box and pull out the tripod in its bag. You can then take the tripod out of the carry bag and start to assemble it. Pull out the legs, twist the locker in the middle, and then extend each of the tripod's 3 legs, locking them into place once you're finished. You can also extend the center column of the tripod if you need a little bit more height. Next, you'll need to remove the quick release plate from the tripod, as shown here, and connect it to the base of the camera, as shown. Gently screw it into place, being careful not to over-tighten the screw. The quick release plate can then be snapped back into the tripod, like so. The easiest way to look at the output from the ATEM Mini is to open the camera app on your computer. If you see the IA icon or any other logos on the screen, an easy way to get rid of them is to twist around the screen on the camera until they disappear. Now you can easily switch between different camera inputs on the ATEM Mini by pressing the buttons labelled 1, 2, 3 and 4. If you want to fade or do other transitions, click the auto button and then see how it reacts. Here's a fade. You can change the type of transition by clicking on the buttons above the auto button. These give you options like crossfades and wipes. There's a wipe. You can also change the duration of the transitions by clicking on the times above the cut button. There's a slow wipe. You can also use picture-in-picture mode to show 2 different inputs in one screen. This is really useful for a live presentation where you can have a host on camera on a small corner of the screen and then an input from a laptop like a PowerPoint presentation full screen. You can control which audio inputs are live and also change the level of each input directly on the ATEM Mini. You can turn each input on and off, and you can also adjust the level using the up and down buttons. Each HDMI input can be treated as an audio input, so that uses the built-in microphones on the cameras, and you can also use 2 different external audio inputs with the audio cable in the streaming kit. This would let you connect mixers with live instruments or other microphones going straight into the stream. Using the ATEM Mini with a Zoom call is really easy. Just click on the arrow next to your video icon, and change your input from your integrated webcam to Blackmagic Design. This lets you feed the output from the ATEM Mini directly into a Zoom call, and it's super easy. If you run into any problems, the FTB button, or Fade to Black, will stop the output of the ATEM Mini and give you time to fix the problem. You can also use the ATEM Mini with services like YouTube and Facebook Live. All you have to do is select Blackmagic Design as your webcam input, and then use the ATEM Mini to show all of your different inputs and control transitions on the fly. So that's the end of this quick introduction to this streaming equipment. Hopefully I've shown you just how easy it is to use and just how quickly you can get a live event online. More advanced users may wish to make use of the ATEM Mini software to get more out of their stream, or to use software like OBS to add more graphics and transitions to their streams.
Amazing, thanks Kate. So yeah, so something else worth mentioning on the end of that video is what he said about you can use it directly for the live streaming. So if you did want to sort of bypass things like OBS or vMix and instead wanted to just directly share these videos that you're mixing from that Blackmagic ATEM, you can do exactly what he said, and instead of using a stream key and all of that stuff, just use that Blackmagic device as your webcam, and then you just have full access like that. So yeah, I didn't know that was actually available for students. That's really cool.
It can be booked here. Let me just pop in the chat here what the address is so that you can book it out. Once you book it, once you email them to ask when you can book it and get availability, they will then direct you to this video to then say that you've watched it, to then confirm you understand how to use it. And obviously everyone who is watching this video can now confirm that. So let me just pop that in the chat.
It's free to use, right?
Yep, completely free. This is obviously a lot of what the university has invested in, given the COVID. And so, yeah, we're trying to make it as accessible as possible for students to, use nice kits and be able to get their stuff on.
Awesome.
Can you make multiple bookings in one go? As in, like, for more than one night or one day, for instance?
Yeah, so currently we've said that they could be booked per week for 2 days. So you can book it out at 9 a.m. and drop it off at 9 p.m. For 48 hours, basically. So that gives you kind of out Monday morning and the dropping off Tuesday evening and so on. Just because we're very aware of how popular they're going to be, there are 2 of them. So there's, as in 2 sets. So there's everything that you've just seen there, that's bookable. And there's also a second set of it as well that is also bookable. So in theory, 2 people could be using the same kind of systems at the same time, essentially. But I'm very aware they're going to be very, very popular.
So if we're in AR and we have a show there, do we have to book it, or is that just included with our AR slot booking? Oh, I think you're on mute, Kate.
If you're in assembly rooms, then you've got the fancy AR cameras that do exactly what that does, and what Matthew's talked about earlier on that system. There's also a controller in the assembly rooms as well. So, you know, like as he was just going camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, that is what you will run with the assembly rooms essentially.
Okay, so we don't need to. So we don't need to book this then if we are already in the assembly room.
If you've got a show in the assembly rooms, no, you don't.
Okay.
Because the cameras are already pre-set up in there, because it's a static venue. The cameras are already set up, and then you can flick what modes you want to do and stuff. So no, you don't need this equipment. This equipment is perfect. So Barnaby, I know you mentioned that you do like esports and stuff, but like for if anyone's here is obviously quite college music or a production that's taking place outside the assembly rooms, or just kind of live streaming a music event for your college, it's also really good equipment to be used in that way as well.
Brilliant. Very exciting.
If anybody is interested in learning about the equipment at the assembly rooms, I will be doing some workshops on Thursday and Friday with the cameras that are in there. We've got some really fun PTZ cameras built into the building, so do come along to those.
And what I'll just do as this is kind of wrapping up is I'll just grab the Media Durham kit list as well, which also has the other cameras as well, if anyone is interested in knowing the spec of those. So just give me.
Any other questions while Kate's just doing that?
Not letting me share it for some very strange reason. Aha! Yes, it is. Ta-da! So here you can see on the side, oh, I don't know why it's flickering. I don't know if it's flickering for you, but these are the cameras. So essentially, this top one is the very, very fancy one, and then this is kind of, so you've got kind of camera A, camera B. You can't book out all 4 at once. You'll be able to book out 1 and 1. Again, very similar to the live streaming equipment. Is that we've got a set of this that you can book, and then a set of those that you can book. So you can't book 2. You'll have 1 of this and 1 of that. These are all the fancy lenses that come with them. And then you've got sound equipment here, lighting equipment, monitor accessories and things. And this will be very good for when you're editing your equipment together, as well as kind of traveling around with it, and yeah, recording and things with gimbals and tripods and fancy things. And then this is the live streaming stuff. You'll notice that obviously the cameras for this are much more easy Panasonic cameras. This is designed to kind of be for all of the fancy cameras here are designed for people who want to go away, film high quality and then edit, you know, over like a week, and as Matthew said, have long post-production times. And the live stream equipment is obviously more simple. The cameras are designed to be easier to use and also designed to be therefore less quality, but also easier in terms of quick fixes for events. So that's that. Anything else at all? Any other questions at all for Matthew? Any questions about the kit? Obviously, I know we haven't talked too much about live streaming from social media. So obviously you've got like Facebook Live and Instagram Live, and you can go live straight from Zoom. I think you can even go live from Teams as well, I believe. But there are lots of different ways you can go live as well. Although I don't know if we're going to touch upon them today. This is kind of much more for more slightly complicated ways.
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming.
Perfect, wonderful. This will be online on YouTube, so you're welcome to have a look at it now. Thank you very much for joining.
Thanks for hosting.